Quick check-in. Have you ever felt burned out from something you actually loved? Because I think people expect burnout to come from toxic jobs, bad bosses, work that we actually hate. But honestly, sometimes the most painful burnout comes from the things we genuinely cared about. And this will hit recruiters, teachers, nurses, retail leaders, creatives, caregivers, stay at home parents. Honestly, probably all of us at some point. Welcome to the Balanced Recruiter, a slightly unhinged, definitely honest space where we talk about burnout, balance, life transitions, and what happens when real life doesn't pause just because we need it to. Hi, I'm Chastity, former recruiter turned beauty sales lead, proud puppy mom, professional laundry dodger, and currently somewhere between passionate and emotionally exhausted, which is honestly making me resist the urge to disappear to Sausalito for a few days. Like foggy, crisp, cold mornings, coffee by the water, walking around and checking out the cute shops and eateries, and maybe not biking it this time, because the last time I went, I somehow managed to run both my face and my bike into the Golden Gate Bridge. And to be honest, that feels weirdly metaphorical for burnout somehow. Like trying really hard, carrying a whole lot, and still emotionally crashing into something. I think one of the saddest parts of burnout is realizing something you once loved now feels heavy. And that can be super confusing. Because when you care deeply about your work, you don't notice that exhaustion sometimes. And immediately you justify it. You say, it's a busy season. I truly care about this. If I get through this week, I'm just super tired. This is part of leadership. And slowly, passion turns into pressure. Honestly, sometimes burnout starts quietly through misalignment, not dramatic misalignment, just little things like your values changing, your priorities shifting, leadership changing, feeling unsupported. That's huge to me. Constantly overextending yourself, giving more than you're getting back. And at first, you adapt because you care, because you're loyal, because you want it to work. But eventually, something starts feeling off, even if you can't fully explain it yet. And I think that's what makes burnout from jobs we once loved feel so confusing. Because part of you is still emotionally connected to it, while another part of you quietly knows it just isn't fitting anymore. And whew, that realization, that one can hurt. And I think that's what makes this kind of burnout so emotionally weird. Because you don't necessarily hate your job. You might still care about your clients, your team, your coworkers, the mission, the people. I know in my old job, I used to say, I believe in the company. I love the company. I believe in the vision. I believe in what we're striving for. But towards the end and right before I was leaving, I started realizing that that was actually me just keeping that as an excuse. I had already started feeling the misalignment, that it wasn't aligning to what I truly believed in anymore, because what I cared for didn't align with what I felt the mission and the vision was going for. So that's just me, and that's just how I felt. But the realization, it honestly did hurt me It honestly made me feel sad. So you're tired, like deep down tired. And then from there, the guilt starts showing up. Because now you're thinking, why do I feel this way about something I used to love? I used to care about this so much. And truly, that question alone can make people feel broken. This is that grief part that no one really talks about. Because let's be real, no one really calls it out. I think that there's grief involved in this kind of burnout because this part of you misses how connected you used to just feel. You miss being excited, feeling creative, caring without feeling drained, and showing up without that resentment. And sometimes you start mourning that version of yourself that existed before survival mode took over. That realization, that one hit me hard. Let's be honest, high-functioning people stay too long. These are people who care deeply. Usually, they stay in for the long haul, and sometimes they overstay because they keep hoping that things will settle down, the support will improve, they'll feel like themselves again. And meanwhile, they just keep adapting to exhaustion. And high functioning people are really good at this. You still show up, you still perform, and you still smile. But internally, you're running on emotional fumes. So, how do we reconnect? And I don't think the answer is always quit your job. Sometimes the answer is resting, boundaries, support, and space. Just talking about that actually reminds me of something that I had teased a couple of episodes ago. I mentioned that I've been thinking about what it would look like if we stopped just talking about burnout and started helping each other step away from it. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that that's what this is really all about. Not escaping your life, not running away from your responsibilities, but creating enough space to reconnect with yourself again. Because sometimes the most healing thing you can do is step outside of the environment that has been asking so much from you. Maybe that's why I keep talking about these runaway destinations. Like, honestly, maybe they're not really about just travel. Maybe they're about remembering who you are when you're not constantly performing. And maybe that's why places like Sausalito feel healing. Because sometimes you need environments that remind you you're a human being first. And you truly only have one of you. I think the real takeaways are that you are not failing because something feels heavier than it used to. And you're not weak for feeling burnt out from something you once loved. It just means you've been carrying too much for too long. And if I have to be totally honest, I think a lot more people are quietly grieving their relationship with work than we realize. Thanks for hanging out with me today on The Balanced Recruiter. If today's version of balance looks like admitting you're tired, even from things you care deeply about, that's enough. And maybe this week, instead of asking yourself why you're struggling, ask yourself how long you've been carrying all of this alone. New episodes drop every Monday, so we can start our week off together. Be sure to follow, share, leave a rating if you can, because that will totally help others find a space who may need the reminder that they're not alone. And find us on Instagram at The Balanced Recruiter. You can DM me there with any topics that you'd like to hear or any questions. I would love to see you folks on there. I do post super mini series, and I also have some really awesome quotes that come from episodes. But just give it a check out and give it a follow. I'd love that. And share with your friends. Remember, burnout is real. Balance is the goal. And I'm somewhere in between romanticizing my life and reheating my coffee for the third time. I'll see you on the next episode.